Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching Speed News with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's get started. After a red carpet reception with a warm hug and a car ride with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin will receive a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan today and will also visit Rajghat this morning to pay homage to Mahatma Gandhi. The Russian president will then have bilateral talks with Prime Minister Modi at Hyderabad House. Discussions are aimed at strengthening economic ties, enhancing trade routes, and advancing cooperation in military technology, logistics, and innovation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented Russian President Vladimir Putin with a Russian-language edition of the Bhagavad Gita during their meeting in Delhi on Thursday. Sharing a photo of the exchange on X, Modi called the sacred Hindu text a source of inspiration for millions across the world, underscoring the spiritual dimension of the India-Russia partnership. All eyes will be on the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, which will focus on defense, energy, and trade. Multiple agreements and MOUs are expected to be signed as President Putin and Prime Minister Modi hold talks. Today, the summit aims to strengthen the special and privileged strategic partnership between the two nations. US President Donald Trump has selected a new architect to oversee his White House Ballroom project, a White House spokesman said. The change comes after the Washington Post reported that Trump and the previous architect disagreed about the size and scope of the addition. Architect Shalom Baranes will take over as the lead on the project from James McCreary, who will remain as a consultant. The Post reported that McCreary had advised restraint to prevent the new ballroom from dwarfing the existing White House structure. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has said that she will travel to Washington for the draw of the 2026 FIFA World Cup and will also meet with US President Donald Trump and Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. Sheinbaum said in a daily morning press conference she would hold a short meeting with both leaders but did not provide further details. The trip comes as Mexico and its North American partners prepare for the 2026 formal review of the USMCA amid rising US tariffs and renewed calls by Washington to renegotiate or possibly withdraw from the pact. Honduran presidential candidate Salvador Nasrallah claimed that last-minute intervention by US President Donald Trump damaged his chances of winning the closely contested election, leaving him narrowly behind as the vote count continues. Nasrallah, a three-time presidential hopeful who identifies as center-right, said that Trump's surprise endorsement last week of conservative rival Nasri Asfura has tipped the race. He also rejected Trump's description of him as a borderline communist. The United States has approved a significant arms deal with Canada worth $2.68 billion involving the sale of airstrike weapons and related equipment. This move comes as Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney posts defense spending amid uncertainties over relations with Washington, D.C. Canada's increased defense spending aligns with NATO's target of spending 2% of GDP on defense, a goal it aims to meet years ahead of schedule. The move addresses concerns about US relations and Russian activity in the Arctic, as President Donald Trump has questioned NATO's relevance and pressured allies to increase spending. FBI has arrested a Virginia man accused of placing 2 pipe bombs outside headquarters of Republican and Democratic National Parties in Washington, D.C. on the eve of the U.S. Capitol attack on January 6, 2021. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi, the accused Brian Cole Jr. faces charges of interstate transportation of an explosive device and attempted destruction using explosive materials. The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed Texas to use a new electoral map that could give Republicans up to 5 more seats in the House of Representatives, boosting Donald Trump's chances of keeping Congress in the 2026 midterm elections. The court overturned a lower court's ruling that the map was racially discriminatory, with the conservative majority prevailing in a 6-3 decision. The map, passed by the Republican-led Texas legislature and signed by Governor Greg Abbott, is expected to flip 5 Democratic-held seats to Republicans. California has responded by approving its own map targeting Republican-held districts, which could give Democrats an advantage. The U.S. military conducted a strike on an alleged drug trafficking boat in the eastern Pacific Ocean, resulting in the deaths of 4 people. A video released by the U.S. Southern Command showed the boat being hit by a blast and erupting in flames. This latest strike brings the total number of lives lost in the U.S. campaign against drug trafficking in the region to over 85. The U.S. military has been conducting these strikes since September, with the Trump administration framing them as a mission to combat maritime drug trafficking. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has reaffirmed his country's sovereignty and highlighted China's political support amid rising regional tensions. In a radio appearance, Maduro warned that Venezuela will fight for peace and sovereignty if necessary, stating, "If we have to resort to armed struggle, it will be to fight for peace, for sovereignty, for our homeland." Maduro's comments come as the U.S. intensifies military operations in the Caribbean and Pacific. China has publicly supported Venezuela's right to sovereignty and peace, with President Xi Jinping pledging continued backing for Caracas. Israel's military struck targets into southern Lebanese towns after ordering the evacuation of 2 buildings it alleged were being used by Hezbollah militants. Israeli raids hit southern Lebanon as its military says it's targeting Hezbollah weapons storage facilities a day after Lebanese and Israeli civilian representatives held their first direct talks in decades. Israel is waiting for the return of the last hostage remains held by Hamas in Gaza. According to the Prime Minister's office, the government has sent a delegation to Cairo to discuss efforts for the return of the remains of the last hostage. Under the US brokered ceasefire, Hamas was supposed to return all 48 hostages, including 20 who were still alive. All but the remains of Israeli Ran Gvili have been handed over, with Israel accusing Hamas of delaying the process. Hamas claims the retrieval process is slow because they have been buried under the vast piles of rubble left by 2 years of devastating war. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has stated that Australia does not need to choose between economic strength and environmental health. He affirmed that his government is achieving success in delivering both a stronger economy and a healthier environment simultaneously. Indian Airlines Indigo has apologized for massive flight disruptions over the past 2 days, which caused over 550 cancellations due to technical and operational issues. The airline stated its teams are working diligently to restore normalcy and remains focused on streamlining its operations at the earliest. US President Donald Trump hosted the leaders of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo at the White House, where they signed a historic peace deal aimed at ending decades of conflict in eastern Congo. The agreement, brokered by the US, focuses on economic cooperation, security, and access to critical minerals. The deal comes as fresh violence raises questions about accord to end one of Africa's longest wars. Microsoft has announced that it will increase prices for its Microsoft 365 productivity suites globally starting July 2026 for commercial and government clients. The move comes as Microsoft Suite, which includes Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, faces growing competition from Google's products. The price hike will affect businesses and public sector agencies with small business. Microsoft has last raised commercial office prices in 2022, and earlier this year it increased consumer subscription rates for the first time in over a decade. The European Union has launched an antitrust investigation against Meta over its new AI policy on WhatsApp. Regulators say the policy could block rival AI chatbots and give Meta AI an unfair advantage. The EU says it may even temporarily halt Meta's WhatsApp AI rollout, citing risks of market dominance and potential harm to competition in the AI space. Meta has called the claims baseless, saying third-party chatbots strain system resources and users can still access other AI services through multiple platforms. The US Federal Trade Commission is investigating whether router maker TP-Link misled customers by hiding its China connections after its 2023 restructuring. According to Bloomberg, the probe is in early stages with no guarantee of a formal complaint yet. The FTC is checking if TP-Link positioned itself as a US company, creating a false sense of security for users. TP-Link co-founder Jeffrey Chow has denied the allegations, saying the firm is transparent about its supply chain and he has no links to the CCP. Oil prices are on track for a second straight week of nearly 2% gains, lifted by expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut that could boost demand. Rising US-Venezuela tensions threatening 1.1 million barrels per day of output and stalled US-Russia talks on Ukraine. Brent is holding near $63.32. These bullish factors offset concerns about oversupply after Saudi Arabia slashed its January selling prices to Asia to a 5-year low. Asia-Pacific markets slipped after a muted Wall Street session. Japan's Nikkei fell 1.36% as 10-year bond yields hit their highest level since 2007. South Korea's Kospi hovered near flat, while the Kosdaq slipped. Hong Kong's Hang Seng opened lower, and China's CSI 300 was flat. Tech stocks remain in focus amid bubble concerns. SoftBank jumped early but later trimmed gains. Investors are also watching the Reserve Bank of India's upcoming rate decision. The US dollar hovered near a 5-week low on Friday as traders braced for an expected Fed rate cut next week, with markets pricing an 86% chance of a quarter-point reduction. The dollar index held near 99, on track for a weekly decline. Mixed US data, distorted by holiday effects and missing releases, kept uncertainty high ahead of fresh inflation numbers. Major currencies, including the yen, euro, and sterling, were steady, while investors also weighed speculation that White House advisor Kevin Hassett could replace Jerome Powell as Fed chair. Central bank decisions from Australia, Canada, and Switzerland are also in focus next week. Gold held steady on Thursday as firmer US Treasury yields offset support from a softer dollar. Spot gold hovered near $4,220 while futures ticked slightly higher. Mixed US labor data as jobless claims at a 3-year low and a sharp drop in private payroll, which kept focus on next week's Fed meeting, where most economists expect a 25 basis point rate cut. Markets now await Friday's PCE inflation report. The Fed's key gauge silver retreated after hitting a record high, while platinum and palladium also slipped. Public broadcasters from 4 countries have pulled out of the 2026 Eurovision Song Contest. Spain, the Netherlands, Ireland, and Slovenia have confirmed their withdrawal. This is followed by the European Broadcasting Union's decision to allow Israel to compete in the upcoming edition. The broadcasters raised objections due to Israel's actions in the Gaza war. The EBU introduced together voting rules after past voting manipulation allegations. However, it declined to ban any broadcaster. The 70th Eurovision will be held in May 2026 in Vienna, Austria.